Well, good afternoon, everybody. Why don't we get started? Today is April 14th, 2025. And let me see, this is very small for Southern. Give me a second while I struggle with these guys for a second. I'm trying to. You guys look kind of. Can you guys see me okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
you look fine.
we can hear you.
Okay. So today is April 14th, 2025. The time now is 1:50. We're starting the pilot revenue committee calling into order. Today we are being joined by Councilor Walsh. Thank you for joining us, Councilor Walsh. We also have committee member Jay Latori and Karen Lee, also joined by the acting controller, Mr. Steve Lonergan. Thank you for joining us. And I do believe I saw our marvelous, intrepid solicitor. Are you there, Steve? Are you hiding behind somewhere?
Good afternoon, Counselor. I am present.
Okay, good. You know, I'm struggling with this a little bit here. It's you guys, for some reason, this gave me some technical difficulty. Just bear with me. Okay, there you go. I did. All right, so why don't we get started? Where's the auditor?
The auditor?
Yeah.
Do you mean internal audit, Counselor?
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be here with us.
I'm not sure. I didn't see him on the invite, but I can certainly go try to find him if you like.
Would you mind? Because I thought he was gonna
Yeah, no worries.
the main discussion today.
I'll go see if I can find him now.
Okay. Why don't we while we do that, why don't we then move on to some updates? I believe, Jay, did you have an update you want to give us?
Thank you, Counselor, and I appreciate you calling on me first because I have a conflict at 2:00, but I'll just briefly inform the committee and the counselors and the administration that we should have something to all of you, the city councilors, the committee, and everyone that's been involved in this process sometime this week from the Collins Center, who many of you will remember we met with, I don't remember if it was February or March now, but after that initial meeting and introduction, we asked them to go back and put together a statement of work for potential partnership to help us form a permanent, pilot policy. And so that I'm expecting to be able to put that out later this week. And, the one message I would say to everyone is that was expressed during the meeting is, this is their recommendations on how they could partner with us. It's subject to our deciding that it makes sense, and the scope is something that we can influence. So no matter what role you play in this, citizen, solicitor, counselor, administration, and finance, if there's something that you think that you'd like to include in their scope, or because you think it will help us, or you think there's something in the scope that we don't really need because we could do it ourselves, that's the type of feedback we're going to need. So I'll work with Councilor Davila to make sure we get that out to everyone this week in an appropriate manner. And, looking forward to see what everyone's feedback is. We're here in April. We talked about hopefully applying for that grant funding sometime in August once the grant becomes available, which will have to happen after the state, passes their fiscal year 26 budget. But we'll be working with Sequoia Malone from the administration and finance, and we think this is a great opportunity. So more to come sometime later this week, probably over email.
Thank you.
Counselor?
Yes, go ahead, Steve.
I forwarded the link. He wasn't on the invite for some reason, so I forwarded the link and he said he'd be signing on as soon as he gets it, I guess.
Okay. Did you say he was not in the invite?
He said he was waiting for an invitation, and I said, I thought you got one. Maybe he did, maybe, who knows with these
Okay.
days. And so I said I'd send him the link, which I just sent him. So
Okay. We can go and knock on his door.
I did.
No, I can go personally and drag him out of his office.
Well, that I don't think would work, but other than that, I
Thank
think
you.
Counselor Vaughn, Solicitor Bonner County might have an issue with you kidnapping him, but other than that.
I think you might agree with that. Thank you for doing that, Steve. Jay, just to follow up on that. So when you say something, you mean something in terms of a proposal from them?
Yeah. We should have a statement of work, a proposal ready to share with everyone this week.
Okay, okay.
I
So
may add to that, Counselor?
go ahead, Karen. Yes.
Yes, and so as everyone knows, Holyoke is planning to start their pilot program, and they had a draft, which
Right.
yes, if you saw the draft. So what I did is used it as a template and put in a lot of the things that we've talked about for the past year and a half,
Right.
and suggestions in the scope of what we're looking to do in Springfield. So
Right.
we've been working on that. It's very rough, not ready to share yet, but
I hear you.
that's
So
happening.
what I'm hoping that we can do is, once we get the formal proposal, that we can go put our minds together and maybe within the next 6 to 8 weeks, kind of take a formal stance. So that we can move forward this, because the application deadline for DLS is coming up August 1st, right? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
it's not so much a deadline, Counselor. Again, it's once they make the application available, the floodgates open and it's first come, first served.
Yeah.
So our
My
goal is when it becomes available that we're first in line.
Yeah, my goal, yeah, exactly. I agree with
Right,
you.
and so Lindsay, if I could address Lindsay for a
Go
minute.
ahead. Hi, Lynn.
So because we're trying to really get a jump start on this, any word on the finding any money where we can pay for this and get going rather than later? I mean, it's been a year and a half now, and pilot funds come in. And Lindsay, what do you think? Is there any opportunity to have the city pay for this study so that we can get going on it?
Yeah, that would be a question for Kathy. I would have to bring that back to her.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
and just to put it on the record, I did, Nancy, I did speak with Kathy about a month and a half ago on this. And I know you guys are working on the budget now. And so I think the general consensus is that we all rather get started, the committee rather start working on this now, rather than having to wait a little longer. So because we need money, as we all know. Okay. Lindsay, would you get back to us? Will you send us an email once you make contact with Kathy, please?
I can ask Kathy to reach out to you, sure.
Well, that's fine. That's equally as acceptable. All right.
Thank
It's good to see you again, Lindsay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So anything else on that particular subject? Any questions? No? Okay. So one exciting development that we have is that we are going to be having a audit of the existing pilot revenue agreements. This committee welcomes this audit. I think it came at a proper time. I had a conversation with Auditor Young. Young, thank you for being here. I appreciate you being here. I invited the auditor to come in, talk to us, give us sort of where he is, and also take suggestions from the committee, which he has agreed to. So with that being said, Ayon, thank you for joining us, my good sir. And by the way, just to let you know, I had to keep Steve from going to get you in your office. So I'm gonna have, you're gonna owe me a cup of coffee later, buddy. So, Jan, floor is yours, go ahead. You muted, Jan. Auditor, you muted.
He's muted.
Yes, so.
There you go.
There we go. Well, thank you for having me, Counselor. The reason why we're doing this audit for the pilot program is because it was on our annual audit plan. So it's not because of a concern that we had in the past. It's just something that we wanted to take a look at based upon our risk assessment. What we're going to do is just look at the current administration of the pilot program at the city. One of the most glaring things that I wanted to point out to the committee is that there's no first thing we take a look at in an audit to see is if there's a policy, and there's no policy at the city. There's nothing. There's no agreement. So I think that's one of the key areas that the committee is trying to address is formalize a policy on how to structure pilot agreements with the tax exempt entities in the city of Springfield. So you're on the right track. Right now, I am going through the existing contracts to see if there are glaring holes in the process in terms of administering these pilot agreements. So at the end of my audit, which I'm commencing right now, and it should take me about a few weeks to get through all the contracts, I'll have findings and recommendations. The process is that I'll go over my findings and recommendations with the department that I'm working with, which is the assessors. Then I'll present my recommendations to that department. Afterwards, I'll present it to senior management. I'll get everyone's responses. Then once I have the administration's responses, I'll sit down with the committee to present my report. And included in my report, will be suggestions to improve the processes, but also I'll try to incorporate areas where I see that the city could incorporate into into a future policy best practices. That other communities throughout Massachusetts may be employing that could be useful to the city of Springfield.
Okay, okay. Anything else, auditor? Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, auditor, a quick question for you. When you say you're gonna present it to the department, what department are you talking about?
Assessors. The assessors department is responsible for administering the pilots program.
Okay, okay. So before I turn it over to my colleagues, auditor, I know we discussed this offline, but at least let me tell you that one of the things, and I'm sure we're gonna be giving you some suggestions, and it is my hope that you will incorporate those suggestions on your report, because there's some synergy between what you're doing and what we're doing now. We have just be a plethora of information that we can share with you, or things that we have found out. But the one thing that I'm pumping on right now is these programs, they have to be adjusted annually. They're not adjusted, and we're losing money, real money with that. I know we have some programs that are 10 years long, same flat fee. We lose the money. And so I want to put that out there early. That we discussed this before, for you to keep in your, to be mindful in your report. Councilor Walsh, you have a question?
Yes, I do. I was wondering, are there pilot agreements in effect now? Does the city have any with businesses and colleges and hospitals?
Yes. There are a few tax exempt organizations with which the city has pilot agreements. And there are also economic incentive agreements that the city has, so-called payment in lieu of taxes agreements. The biggest of which is MGM.
Okay. who else would they have?
So they have, tax exempt, entities, include, mental health associations, the STC, Foundation, and, Center for Economic, what is it? I think it's the CETs. It's the Center of,
Development.
yeah, Economic,
Community.
Development.
Actually, that one's canceled, I believe.
I think that is about to expire, so, I think this is probably, I think the last year, but I'm just getting into it. I don't have my notes in front of me, but, that one does come to mind. It's CET, and I may have my acronym, incorrect, so I'll just, keep it as CET. And I think, they have a couple of buildings, that, partake in the pilot program, which I think, as you mentioned, may be expiring, but,
So,
I'll present that in more detail.
so in other words, these entities make some kind of a financial payment to the city,
Yes,
but there's no policy, so it's not uniform how they do it.
well, yeah, well, so far, there's no, I'm not seeing a consistency in terms of how the pilot program is being administered.
Mhm.
So I
But-
could shed some light on that for you, Counselor.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
So the committee did review all of 15 pilot agreements. You mentioned a couple others, Auditor, but what we had were 12 agreements with the Mental Health Association going back to 1999, and I think the latest one was like 2004 or 2010. And you're right, it's a very loose agreement. And then there's Bay State Medical that expires on June 30th, but that was just for 2 properties, not for the entire complex. It was just 2 properties they purchased, I think in 2012, somewhere around there. And then STCC, their contract expires in 2028 or 2030 or something, a little far off. And those were the parking lots that were
Mhm.
purchased.
Correct.
And they're paying the pilot on that. And then there was the last one that you mentioned. I think they're no longer going in business, the economic.
It's the Center
Environmental
for
something.
Ecological
Yes.
Technology.
Yeah.
Right. They're not, yeah. I don't know if that contract was actually executed because I think they ended up just
They
moving,
closed.
doing something else. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in the process of looking at that contract and seeing what payments have been made, so I'm just getting into it, but I'll have the results of my audit. I'll present them and any recommendations or findings that I come up with.
Right. So I have a quick question. Because I was follow up on that.
Lindsay, the current pilot agreements, how much of a difference do they make a difference in the budget?
They do make a difference in the budget.
Do you know, like what, how much? 5%, 10%?
Young, definitely not 5 or 10%.
No,
Young,
I
do you
I
have
thought
the-
it was about 1.8 million if memory serves. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not talking huge dollars, but it is,
So it is significant.
It's about $1 million, maybe. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excluding, if you were to exclude MGM, I think.
Correct,
it's
not
close-
including
close-
MGM.
Not including MGM, we're
Yeah.
probably talking about $1 million.
Right. 2 quick questions. Anything else, Councilor Welch?
No.
2 quick question. Solicitor, a quick question for you. I know that the auditor is reviewing this, but in the pilot program, we all know that it's voluntary. Payments in lieu of taxes. We highly encourage our partners to pitch in and help us. With that being said, once you put it on paper, it's a contract. Do we have any, I mean, granted, we don't know what the auditor is gonna find, but do you see any world out there in which if we find out that some payments were not made, that we can, the city, legally go back and say, you promised to give us this money, cough it up?
Yes, conditionally. But I don't think I've seen the arrangements that we have
Right.
with, especially the mental health associations, but usually, what I've seen is consistent with with the presentation, and forgive me, the gentleman from the Collins Center, who kind of ran point on this issue at the previous meeting, that the tables really shift immensely, that the city doesn't have any binding authority to compel any nonprofit to enter into a pilot. But should they enter into a pilot, that becomes a contractual arrangement with the city, meaning that it depends on the language inside that arrangement and the conditions inside that, but it's now a binding agreement between two parties, so that if one side fails to produce as agreed upon, it gives the city the opportunity to potentially all the way up to suing them for reimbursement.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Solicitor, for that. It's something that I will, I mean, we're just at the early stages here, but something that I will encourage you guys to keep in your toolbox for now, because if somebody owes us money, they owe us money. And that's I mean, in my book, simple as that. Quick question, I think I know the answer, but Lindsay, this pilot program money, right now they're going to the general fund, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, the general fund, okay. Very well. And, okay. Now, so we don't know who's paying, who's doing what. I definitely would like to know the answer of that. Auditor, are you gonna be looking at just the current agreements, correct?
Yes, just the current agreements, the objective here is just to make sure that those agreements are properly being adhered to, monitored, and if there are any, I guess, differences in terms of what the contract calls for, I'll definitely call that out in our
Yeah.
report.
Yeah.
Question
Okay.
for the auditor?
Karen, go ahead.
Yes. When Patrick had presented, you know, these agreements to us some time ago, my understanding is that there's a 3 ABC form that I'm just not clear on it. If they have to prove that each year, because the payments just come into the assessor's office and they just take them. I mean, is there any backtrack on that? Is this person still qualified for that exemption?
So
Is there
my
any-
understanding is that they have to provide that form annually.
And who, yes, and who do they provide it to?
My understanding is that they're supposed to provide that to the assessors.
Okay, that's what I'm not sure about, if they actually receive that. I just wanted to verify that, in fact, confirm that they do get that.
Right, so that is one of our steps. Audit
Perfect.
procedures is to ensure that these forms have been submitted by the tax exempt entities.
Yeah.
And that there's, you know, we also want to check just to make sure that there's a process at the assessors for any changes in the, I guess, ownership of the property. If, you know, if the property was sold to a commercial entity, we just want to make sure that that property is back on the tax roll at the assessor. So that's things that we would typically look at in an engagement like this. Proper
Yeah.
classifications of
Karen?
the property.
Yeah, Karen, can you clarify for the people watching at home why it's a 3 ABC form?
Maybe the auditor is better suited to
Oh,
answer
sure.
that question.
It's just certifying you're a tax exempt entity from my understanding. Is that you're confirming your status as a tax exempt entity for the, you know, for which that property is being used.
Okay, and just for the people at home, so that for their understanding, what are the basic requirements to be a tax exempt?
You're basically it's determined by your IRS tax filing status. You usually file it as a 501c3 tax exempt entity, which makes you tax exempt. You don't pay income taxes on the revenues that the net income you generate,
Mhm.
and that you have an exempt purpose. Basically, your purpose is for charitable purposes.
Mhm, mhm. Now, Auditor, I realize that you say you are gonna be looking at the existing programs, and I believe some of those members or I'm gonna call them partners that you have they have agreements with us. They have cafeterias on the premises. Are you gonna be looking to see if payments, meal tax, and the appropriate taxes are being paid out of that? Because that doesn't seem to me that it's part of a nonprofit, it's more like a revenue. And then-
Well, I think, I mean, that's probably outside the scope of the pilot.
Also,
review,
also,
because that, you know, for an organization to have a cafeteria and not be subject to income taxes, that it has to, I think there's certain requirements on that end. And I believe when they have their financial statements reviewed by an outside auditor, that auditor would primarily assess whether they're in compliance with tax laws with those cafeterias. But for my purpose, the audit for our purpose is ensuring that, you know, the city has procedures and processes in place to ensure that property is properly exempted from not paying taxes, right?
so I understand, that makes sense, but I'm thinking to me that maybe as part of the audit, we can, I don't know what this looks like yet. Like, I think we need to reassess because, you know, we have nonprofits out there that have cafeterias, Starbucks, Subway, they're doing very well, they're packed. And so it just makes me wonder, you know, I'm not saying they're not, but I don't
Well,
know.
I'm just, I think it's more nuanced than that. I think, you know, if nonprofits have cafeterias, that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, they're in violation of their tax exempt purposes.
Well, I'm not suggesting that, but I just want to make sure that they do it fair, because out of that,
So
so they get the tax.
I think the more, the issue that I would be concerned with when looking at properties with nonprofits is that if they're using the exempt property for commercial purposes, like they're, you know, subleasing it to a commercial enterprise, in which that commercial enterprise is generating revenues from that property. So then that would,
Yeah, like I know one particular location that has a Starbucks. And that is private.
well, I mean,
Well, let's look at the colleges, like Western New England University. Their area where they have the food court, those have commercial vendors in there. So my understanding is that the commercial vendor pays the tax on that square footage, but Western New England would receive the revenue. So in that case, would that revenue be taxable, or is that, or what?
yes, that revenue would be taxable. It's considered unrelated business income. And that would be subject to tax by the IRS. Again, you know, for me, I mean, I could take a look to, you know, I will take a look at the properties to see if it is being used for their exempt purposes, and if it's not, then, you know, it may be a matter of finding out, you know, what that property is being used for. And the way I would do this is by going to the nonprofits' financial statements. They're required to file their financial statements with the Attorney General of Massachusetts. So you can take a look at those financial statements to see if they're paying income taxes on, I guess, programs that aren't related to their exempt purpose. So, I may find, some information that, that could be useful, for my audit, but we'll see.
Yeah,
That's one of the.
Auditor,
I'll take a look
auditor,
at.
question for the auditor.
go ahead, Karen.
So some time ago, several months ago, we reviewed each one of these 15 pilot agreements and wrote like a little report on each of those agreements. Would that be helpful for you to look at what our perspective was on this? 'Cause I
Sure.
can email it to you.
I
Okay.
welcome that, and I'll, on top of that, I do my own,
Of course.
independent review to see if there are any issues. My view, of potential finding may be different, than yours, but certainly I welcome, reviewing, your notes from that review.
Okay, I'll send it out to you.
That sounds fair to me. Excellent. And, okay, I apologize. You know how technology is. This thing is going haywire on me. Can you guys see me okay? Yeah?
Victor, you shrunk.
Yeah.
No, I know I'm here. I don't know, the camera, but I'm still here. It just went haywire on me. Of course, it's live TV, people. Please bear with me for a second. Excuse me for a second.
Well, while you're doing that, I'd like to throw out a question. I think
Go
that,
ahead, Councilor.
when you first started this committee, I thought it was kind of a pipe dream, but I have noticed in articles and readings that a lot of communities are looking into it, and how do you guys feel? Do you think there's an appetite for doing this? But does Springfield have the base to do it? I mean, Boston has all the universities and the hospitals, but anybody have a sense of whether or not this could really be successful?
I could address that. And here's,
Well, I know you're, yes. I
yeah,
just
I could go on
Yeah.
forever.
was wondering about the
yeah.
other people on the Zoom.
Okay, anything else, Councilor Walsh?
No?
No, okay, very well. All right, any other question anybody may have regarding the audit, the pending audit? No? Auditor, can you give us a little bit about, roughly a timeline that, you're gonna be doing this?
So, we're, just starting the audit now, and I expect, the audit to be, complete sometime, late May, early June.
Okay. And complete and presented to this committee by June?
Late June, maybe July, sometime in the summer.
Okay. Okay.
Again, I just want to reiterate.
Just in time for the
that,
budget, by the way.
just wanna reiterate, we're gonna, the primary focus of this audit is to assess the current practices and procedures, and we'll make recommendations
Yeah.
to strengthen those practices.
No, I think, like I say, we welcome this, this audit. It comes at a great time. I see what you are focusing on, but anything that we can help you on. And I think, like I said, there's some synergy here. Like you said a little while ago, maybe a little bit, few goals. A little bit, you talked about having policy and procedures, which is something that we ourselves here have spoken about in this committee, developing policy and procedures. Furthermore, we're creating a permanent committee, from the assessor's office to address this. Because our goal is to ensure that the system, whatever process is developed, that it's going to be here 100 years from now. And that is a well-oiled machine. And at the end of the day, that the city doesn't lose money. I mean, for God's sakes, our budget's going to be $1 billion. We may lose 37 million from the schools, from the SRA. We are entering very concerning times. And as I've always say, and I say every time, if I can get money out of a rock, I will. And so we welcome this, and I thought that it was appropriate that you came in to give us a quick overview of what this may entitle to be. If nobody has a question, solicitor, is there anything that you may want to add? Any thoughts?
No, I think, Mr. Chairman, that, the auditor's, timeline, I think is a good, will sink in well. When I say sync, to correspond with what we see out of results out of Holyoke as well, with Holyoke clearly ahead of us on this matter. We should probably at some point try to reach out and get a summary from Holyoke as to what the results have been,
Yeah,
hopefully right around that same timeline.
excellent, excellent. Now, the Holyoke surpassed us already. I'm pretty excited for them. Auditor, the one request that I have is, once you do this, we definitely want to know who's been paying consistently, who's not paying us. We need to know that. And then we need to figure out how to go after them, because I mean, when I say after them, I don't mean like, knock down the door, but when you make a promise, our friends keep their promise. So we don't know what we're gonna find in this audit, but if there's people out there who are not paying, I do have expectations that we are gonna reach out to them and say, you made a promise, we need the money. So is that doable, auditor, that we know who's paying, who hasn't been paying?
Yeah, and I also want to point out that it can go the other way as well. It could be that, a tax exempt entity could have paid too much. So in that sense, I'll certainly point that out as well.
If we gotta write the reimbursement check, we will, although I'm sure we're savvy enough to say, you get a reimbursement, would you like to donate it to the city? I'm sure that would be, a good deal, good power move. A good partnership, let me rephrase that, a good partnership. So hopefully that would not be the case, but hopefully everybody's making payments on time like they're supposed to, and making payments. Well, with that being said, I don't have anything else. No other questions, concerns? Very well then. So the next meeting is gonna be next month. Well, if we have any questions, the time now is 2:26. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody.